Born in New Zealand, and my family immigrated when I was about 12 to Australia, and didn't do too well at high school, too busy playing basketball and chasing girls around. So going into junior college, got my degree there, and that's where I met my wife.
He just had that presence of the Spirit with him because he was just sincere in whenever he talked about anything, and he didn't use any profanity at all. And so I kind of felt that drew you to him.
We got married pretty early, started to have children. And during that period, I was really struggling to find work. I was working in factories and labor jobs, and my dad had a car cleaning business. I was working for him. And I really got to a point where I was wondering if this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And I knew that's not what I wanted. I wanted to achieve more and accomplish more. And I remember going to a general conference with this in the back of my mind, like, what am I going to do with my life? How am I going to support my family?
Brethren, you look like a shirt-sleeve priesthood. You look all dressed in white, ready to go to work. And the time has come to go to work. And so I say to you young men, rise up and discipline yourself to take advantage of educational opportunities.
When he started to talk about that really hit my spirit. And I knew at that moment that I needed to go back to school and to get as much education as I could. And that's where my real passion for basketball started to come out of me, and wanted to pursue sports and the sport that I love to support my family. And so that was on the weekend, and then on the Monday I went straight to the colleges and started to apply, and that was the start of my career journey.
So it was at the time when he had just finished schooling, and at the time he had worked as a youth worker with foster kids.
After about a year and a half of that, the youth work company wanted to offer me a full-time job as a manager and give me a car and significantly better wage. And at the same time, I got offered an internship at one of the elite sporting academies in Australia.
At the time, obviously, it was a dream or providing, and so he had come to me and we had talked about it, we had prayed about it, and it just felt right for him to go to the path and direction of the coaching, even though it was low paying, because in the end, it was him doing the job that he was passionate about.
Once I got into the internship, I very quickly started to work my way through and got more and more responsibility, the full-time job. Ultimately led to taking the Australian swim team to London Olympics and 2 World Championships. So it's a real privilege to represent my country and to be a part of that whole process. So you follow one prompting and it changed the whole course of my life. I would have been mid-30s, got a call from the stake president to come in with my wife. He called me as bishop of a newly created ward, and my parents happened to be in the ward boundaries.
And then halfway through his bishopric time, his dad was diagnosed with cancer.
My dad was not an active member of the church. During that period, he really started to think about life. What's after this earth life? And my dad happened to be getting chemotherapy treatment at the hospital close to the Brisbane Temple. And I just felt prompted, a spiritual prompting to stop and just say hello. And so we did. We pulled in, we walked in. And my dad's not a very emotional man. But when we walked in, he just burst into tears.
Didn't really think much of it, and it wasn't until the next day that Mum rang up Mike and just said, "You'd never guess what Dad told me." Dad had said that he wants to take me to the temple. And he said, really? He goes, yeah, it was because when you guys came last night, he said it was like he saw angels coming towards him. And he really felt the Spirit at that time, and that was like the point where he really felt like, I need to take my family to the temple and I have to do it now. It was just a joyful occasion for all the family members.
So kind of during that period too, I ended up getting a job with British basketball.
Michael interviewed him for his temple recommend. So I think that was something special for Michael and even for his dad.
And that ended up being the last interview I did as a bishop. And I remember when he left and I was in my office contemplating what just happened, I had a huge sense that my purpose for being a bishop and being in the ward was to seal my own family, not just help the members of the ward.
So the call that he got to the Bucks was when he was in England.
They said, hey, we've heard about you. We want you to come work for us.
They actually said, Wisconsin. And at the beginning, we're like, where's Wisconsin? So we had to kind of look it up.
They we want you right now. So I had to go back to Australia, and I had about 2 weeks to pack up, basically, and then get to the US.
That was his dream from the very beginning, and to kind of feel like you've been given this opportunity, it was like opened up, he was just so happy.
So you could see the hand of the Lord in my life, just putting things in place and people in my life to help me have the courage to pursue my dreams.
He's probably the foremost expert in his profession in the world. He spent the last 7 years as a strength conditioning rehab coach for the Milwaukee Bucks, won an NBA championship with them. And he's coached on 3 different continents, and he's done it at the highest level.
The NBA is awesome, but it's so intense.
The NBA and college basketball are 2 completely different worlds. And for Wiz to want to go through the interview process here at BYU was pretty startling.
In the end, it just worked the way it's supposed to happen. Certainly, it happened in ways that were beyond my control.
But we are super grateful for the gift that he is giving us and the NBA mentality that he is bringing to BYU basketball.
One of the things that Coach Pope highlighted was, the Sundays were off. He had evenings, he could come home for dinner and stuff like that. Those were things that probably a lot of people just have in their lives, where for us, it was not present all the time.
So someone in strength and conditioning, I get to spend more times with the players than the coaches do. So you're in the trenches with them, you're getting to know them at a very deep level.
In the NBA, you get to coach guys and you get to be there for guys as they go through complicated situations. But in college, you get to actually change the trajectory of young men's lives.
And so that really excited me about the job, to be able to merge both my spiritual life and my career together and be able to help impact young people. That was a big driver.
Wiz is built to do that. He cares about it. He has these guys over to his house all the time. He's invested in their lives. He takes the time to sit and talk with them about things that have nothing to do with basketball or athletics.
I feel like I'm doing the things the Lord wants me to do. Whatever you're passionate about, you can pursue if you put the work in and you're persistent and you follow the Lord, the counsel in all things, and follow the promptings of the Spirit, that, good things will happen.